Amen. Thank you. You can take a seat.
So how's everybody doing? Well, I'm fired up. I feel like I just went to church. That was great. I love that. This band is amazing. Wow. And we thought that it might be fun for a few minutes to unpack what it looks like to create a worship experience that people far from God love. So that's what we'll do for the next 20 minutes. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and do a live Q&A. And I wanted to give you the phone number for texting in questions now. You are welcome to ask anything for the next session at 10:30. Ask anything live about Life Church or about my family. I think my wife is going to join us at 10:30. So you should put her on the spot. She loves being put on the spot. And you can ask about anything. Here's a picture of our family right there. You can ask about adoption. You can ask about what it's like being in the ministry fishbowl. Anything we can do to encourage you, to help you see that you're not crazy. That's the number you can text to. It's anonymous, so we're not going to hunt you down later. We just want to create a safe atmosphere to ask anything. And so that'll be a 45-minute session. Ask anything. That'll be fun. But for right now, I got about 20 minutes, 23 minutes and 12 seconds to talk about creating a worship experience that people far from God love. So I come from improv comedy background, which is all about working with other people. I'm going to bring this whiteboard here up front. And the whole idea of improv comedy, of writing sketches for Saturday Night Live, is two words: yes and. I think there's a whole chapter on this in my book, Holy Shift, which if you were here last night, you should have received a free digital copy of. But yes and is the whole idea of not being the person who sits there and goes, no, there's no stalls, to go, no, but nobody cares about your butt. Your butt is ugly, smelly, hairy. We like yes and because this moves things forward. And that's where comedy comes from. And that's how we do leadership here at Life Church. So in 1 Peter 5, it says that the chief shepherd will soon appear. The chief shepherd is Jesus. You're in church. Come on. The answer is always Jesus. He's the chief shepherd. That word shepherd is where we get the idea of pastor. So Jesus is the senior pastor of every single church. And if he's not the senior pastor, you've got a problem. And the way that we've structured things at Life Church, people go, how are you guys structured? We say we're structured to win because we are a staff-led church. You may have grown up in a congregational church where it's one person, one vote. That's great in democracy, horrible in scripture, because church people always vote to go back to Egypt. So we don't do democracy. You may have grown up Presbyterian. That's what I grew up in. That's where they have lots of committees. And I've read John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he did not send a committee. What do you call a group of vultures? A committee. So we don't do committees. You may have grown up in a bishop structure where there's some head honcho way off who comes and visits your church once a year and you kiss his ring. We don't do bishopry. We do arguably what the Bible reveals, which is God raises up a fearless leader. He equips, he calls, he hands off the ball, quarterbacking, and then that person grabs more leaders and they go. It's mosaic. So you see that with Moses, you see it with David, you see it with Peter and the disciples. So we're a staff-led church. Jesus is our senior pastor. So that means there has to be a lead pastor or a quarterback. And that's my role. And then everybody is accountable to somebody. Jesus taught that. You have to be under authority before you can be in authority. So the disciples were under the authority of Jesus. Jesus submitted himself to the Father. There's always levels. So there is a board of directors that has two roles. They have higher fire privileges, well, over me. And then number two, they take care of the legal function, the annual budget, those types of things. But they're hands off as far as the day-to-day ministry. That's all done by the staff. And our staff is always changing because our church is growing. And if you've ever had kids and they are growing really quickly, you got to get them new blue jeans, new T-shirts. They outgrow things. that's what we've experienced here at Life Church in the last 6 years. So what we do may not fit you, but if it works for you, please run with it. You can take the name off of it and stick your name on it. We don't care. There's nothing new under the sun. This is just what works for us. We want to do what Jesus did. We want to reach the lost at any cost. That's the heartbeat of Luke chapter 15, when the shepherd leaves 99 to find the one. The lost son comes back. The father runs, embraces him. We want to reach people far from God. And bingo, there are thousands and thousands of people in that category right here in the Great Lakes Bay region. We have 3 major cities: Bay City, Midland, Saginaw. And early on, we had to make a choice. We talked about it last night, of either building. We will eventually build. We own this property, so this will always be central offices. We'll blow out walls and expand. We got 40 acres. But being a 3-year-old church, didn't want to raise a couple $1 million. That's not fun. So instead, we decentralized, and we become one church in 3 locations. We have not nailed this at all. I don't think any church in America has. But it's worked for us, bringing church to the people. And we were the first church in this region to do whatever they call multi-site. I think that's silly. It's franchising. That's really what it is. Let's be honest. All right. And so we want to reach people far from God. We want to make it easy for someone who would never darken a church door to darken a Life Church door. We've identified our key demographics. So you want to figure out, who is it you're trying to reach? And for us, our key demographic is a 23-year-old single guy. If I can reach the 20-something male, I can change society, because every problem that you see on the news is started by college dropouts, men who have too much time on their hands, men who need to go get a job, get a lady, get married, follow Jesus, and instead they're staying up too late. They want to be in riot gear, spray painting, anarchy. If I can reach the men, I can change society. And if I can reach the husband or the boyfriend, studies show the family follows. So our flavor is geared towards a masculine millennial, a masculine Gen Zer. Of course, we are multi-generational. By God's grace, we are multicultural. And that's really cool, but that's who we're trying to reach. We are missionaries, so think of yourself as a missionary. So you are trying to learn how to take a timeless message, the gospel, and share it in timely methods. And the Apostle Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians 9, where he says, I will become all things to all people, so that by all means I might save some. And that's my credo. That's my heartbeat. That's what Jesus did. He left the comfort of heaven to come down to us. So side note, in Matthew 16, Jesus starts this movement called the church. He goes up north to Caesarea Philippi. I've been there. It still exists today. Goes this huge mountain to the gates of hell. It was called the gates of hell because there's a cave. I've stood there, and natural gases escape. And the supernatural people in the area thought that it was the evil spirits. So they called it the gates of hell. So Jesus brings these teenage disciples right there, says, this is my church, and it will, spread. Everybody's welcome. Nobody's perfect. Matthew 17, they continue north into modern-day Lebanon to Mount Hermon, and they go up to the top, and then Jesus only lets 3, Peter, Paul, Mary, Peter, James, and John come with him, and that's where he's transfigured. He turns white. He reveals his glory. He's talking to Elijah, Moses, and what you see in that moment is on the mountain. That's the only place in that area of the Middle East where there's snow. Snow represents holiness, purity. And who's on top of the mountain? Jesus. Who else in the scriptures meets people at the top of mountains? God. Think of Moses' 10 Commandments. So Jesus is revealing that he is the Son of God. He's transfigured. He's at the high point. And then what does he do at the end of that? He goes down the mountain and he begins the long journey towards Jerusalem. And that's the gospel. It's dying to self. It's reaching people far from God. Religion says, earn your way up the mountain. The gospel says, I will come down to you. Jesus literally, in the geography of Israel, models that. He leaves Lebanon, comes back down to the northern edge of the Sea of Galilee, to a fishing town called Capernaum, which in Hebrew means comforter. Comforter. So Jesus is the comforter. He's in the place of comfort. He does a lot of ministry in Capernaum, but he leaves the place of comfort to go to the place of death, Jerusalem. And that's what we are called to do, to go and die to self. So I'm the guy that's going to say that the church does not exist for you. The church is the only organization on planet Earth that exists for the benefit of its non-members. So I don't believe that this is us for no more, a holy huddle. No, we are an organic movement, and we want to reach more people far from God. There's room at the table. One of the mantras of the scriptures. More people come to the table. Jesus spent more time at house parties than he did in Bible studies. It's all about relationships. Millennials and Gen Zers are very dubious about Christ followers, but they love Christ. So it's not about preaching. It's about showing love. And so one of the big ideas here at Life Church is we love to use humor over hammer. You do not need to be that preacher who says, I'm going to go on stage and give them hell. No, the people in your church have already been through hell all week. Give them hope. And if I can get a 23-year-old single guy laughing, he will open himself up to spiritual truths. So designing a worship experience that people who don't go to church love starts with the web. You want to marshal some resources on the web because that is the front door. People will always visit your website before they ever visit your church. Forget the yellow pages. Nobody looks at that anymore. So if you're going to spend some money, get a decent website. We are overhauling our site right now to really feature video content. Right now, 70% of Gen Zers, when they grow up, want to be professional YouTubers. 70%. So in the next 5 years, online video is where your demographic is moving toward. My children, 7 years old, 4 years old, we don't even have cable. We just have apps. They watch YouTube. And it's usually these weird shows of parents that are dressing up. They're having their midlife crisis. And they do toy reviews. And these get like 23 million views. And 2 days ago, I literally caught my kids watching it. And I sat there for 20 minutes. And I'm like, this is horrible. But they're watching it because there's an authenticity. It's so cheesy that they are drawn to it. So you don't have to have a perfect rock show on Sundays. Somebody asked, is this the type of worship we do? Yes, every single Sunday, because that's what I'm trying to reach. The guy who's going to the 21 Pilots concert. So yeah, I'm going to use a hazer and lights to change the mood, but I can't change their heart. Only the Holy Spirit can do that. What I can do as a missionary is lay down my desires as a Gen Xer and instead present the gospel in a way that penetrates their culture. So it starts in the parking lot after they come to the website. You want to create times that are easy for people to come. So here at our Saginaw campus, we do 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and on Mondays, we do 7:30 p.m. And our highest attended worship experience is 11:30 on Sundays. This place is packed. We've tried doing earlier times. We reach church people. And so we just cut those services because it doesn't match our vision. We don't want to waste our energy reaching people who are already saved. Okay? That's just our deal. And so people pull up. There's flags. We've got parking crew because studies show that within the first 7 minutes of a first-time visit to your church, a first-time guest has already made up their minds on whether or not they will return. 7 minutes. So before the pastor ever takes the stage, they have already summed up their experience. Our job is to help people feel comfortable. Where did Jesus do ministry? Capernaum, the place of comfort. And here's the deal. Rick Warren once said that before someone can become theologically aware, they must first become environmentally secure. If someone invites you to a New Year's Eve party, unless you're an extreme extrovert, you probably get a little nervous because you don't know who is going to be there or how they will be dressed or will I fit in. The deepest issue in our society right now is identity. Nobody wants to stand out. We all want to fit in because we fear rejection. And the local church should be the most radically inclusive community in your region. Nobody should feel like they have to jump through hoops to come in the front door. And yet many millennials and Gen Zers assume that because they know what the church is against. So at Life Church, we would rather share, here's what we are for. We will never use this platform to condemn or point fingers. We're not into bad dog theology. Bad dog theology. God says, bad dog, stick your face in that mess. No. We want to lift people up with hope and change. This is not a funeral. Okay, we always know who the recovering Catholics are on Sundays because they arrive early. They do this weird thing, genuflecting to me. And when we worship, they just sit there like, what's going on? We don't do funerals because Jesus ruined every funeral he went to. Jesus brings life. He brings party. Remember, the first miracle was turning water into wine. So environment is huge for us. We are in the customer service business. That's what you are in. So you want to have extroverts out there waving. Unconsciously, every single human being will always, when they meet a stranger, look at the hands of the stranger. It's ingrained in us for fight or flight. And so the number one thing you can do is train your volunteers to wave and smile right when the people are pulling up. When you take the stage, pastor, the best thing you can do is go, hey, welcome to Life Church. Show your hand in a friendly gesture. It unconsciously puts people at ease. As people come out, we want to have music outside because the party, the sermon starts in the parking lot. We have someone at the front door, and we never let people touch doorknobs. We always want to get the door for them. If a guest touches a door, I will see it, and I will send that person away. I don't know what I'll do. I'm not happy about that because I want them to have a guest experience. If we're going to point to where something is, never use your pointer finger because that's rude in our society. Think Disney. You've been to Disney World? You say, where's the restroom? It's over there. They use two fingers. So we train our volunteers to use two fingers. Because that way, if you're in the view of the pointer, it's not like, rude. It's, look, they're just pointing over there. We want to usher people towards family check-in because kids will get bored. Our worship experience is not designed for anyone 5th grade and younger. We want them to experience God's love in a way that doesn't bore them, that excites them, that engages their creativity. So we check them in. You've seen the high-tech check-in stuff. Maybe you already have that in your church. It's not hard to get. And then we have different environments. For nursery all the way up to 5th grade, we use giant inflatables, loud music, lots of toys in the first 15 minutes, partly so that children become environmentally secure. So when they're nervous and they're not wanting to go in the area, they see the giant inflatable and they hear Disney music. We play Moana. That is their language. We're being missionaries. They're drawn in. They get their nervous energy out by jumping around. So other fundamentalist churches, say, oh, you like to go to the fun church. Yeah, I do, because we put the fun back in fundamentalism. Yes, I want to have the best hour in my kids' week. I have 5 kids. I grew up a pastor's kid. I don't want my kids going to church that gets boring. So first 15 minutes, they get their energy out. They have a blast. Then it switches to Blue's Clues style video where there's worship, teaching, and then the adult leaders do small groups. That's it. And so my criteria for kids areas is I'll go to my kids workers and say, here's my 3 questions. Number 1, were they safe? Because if a kid gets hurt, that ruins the whole experience. Were they safe? Number 2, did they have fun? Did they have fun? We don't want to bore kids. And then number 3, was Jesus the hero? Safe, fun, Jesus. That's it. That's a win for the kids area. Everybody else comes here into what we call the main stage. This is designed for 6th grade on up. We do a 5-minute countdown to get people excited. There's something coming. We're building anticipation. Again, we can't change hearts, but we can set the mood, the environment. That's what lighting does. I come from the world of theater, so does Brennan. And we know that you can affect people's emotions. We don't have windows. We want it dark. It promotes the mystery of God in this space. And we know that loud rock music is going to reach our demographic. It just is. Then we'll segue into some sort of video bumper. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's silly. Go into the message, which seen is just kind of me teaching. Right now we're teaching through the Bible. Genesis to Revelation. For 3 years, we put bonus online resources up every single week. So there's daily 10-minute Bible studies that people can read. And then there's also 20 pages each week of seminary level notes that go deeper. So that way I don't feel pressure if I run out of time during the message. I can just say, oh, we put the rest of it up online at lifechurchmichigan.com. Check it out. And that way, if there's someone who's a Bible nerd and says, I just want to go deep. I just want to go deep. We've got 20 pages. There's 250 pages right now of Genesis through Ruth online for free. And then if people are taking baby steps in their walk, we've got 10-minute little Bible nuggets that relate back to the message. And that's been a huge tool. I'm excited about our new site because we'll have a new app coming out in the coming weeks. Our Fearless Leader site has a new leadership app coming out very soon too. We just want to resource local church leaders with free articles, free videos. I don't feel like people should have to pay for this stuff. It drives me crazy when I see these conferences. You have to pay $200 and they're giving you their best of message from 10 years ago. That just drives me crazy. And I know some of those guys. They're good guys, but they don't need to buy another jet. Okay? So that's that. After the message, we do one last song. That's when we pass the offering buckets. And we always say this every single week because every Sunday is someone's first Sunday. We'll say, hey, if you're visiting Life Church for the first time, we are thrilled that you came today. Do me a favor, get that connection card, fill it out, drop it off for a free gift bag. We're going to pass around the buckets to receive tithes and offerings. But if you're visiting, look at me. If you're visiting, look at me. Please leave your wallet in your pockets. We are not after your money. The number one hurdle for millennials and Gen Zers is they think the church is Amway, that we're just trying to get money out of their pocket. So we diffuse it every Sunday, and we literally say, please don't give a dime. I've only had 2 people complain about that over the last 6 years because they just misunderstood it. But once I explained the heartbeat and how we're missionaries, they went, oh, that makes sense. To make it easier for people, though, we do put on the screen how to give online, lifechurchgive.com. So after this session, if you want to go buy a Fearless t-shirt for $5, and you didn't bring your money, you just go to lifechurchgive.com and you can use your debit card. And what we've discovered at our church, statistically, over 80% of our tithes and offerings come through online giving. We like online giving because it's predictable, it's repeatable. You automate what's important. If there's a bad snow day and we shut down, so Tim, I know you had to shut down for 2 or 3 weeks in Ohio because you're on the edge of hell. You're in Ohio. Of course you had to shut down, but you didn't have to freak out those 3 Sundays about lost income if you have automatic giving taught to your people. And so you just buy a domain name on GoDaddy for $9.99, your church, trinitychurchgive.com, and then you just link it to an online giving site. There's tons of sites. We can share those with you later. And that way you know you have predictable income. And people don't like talking about money in church, but guess what? If you're going to reach people far from God, it costs money. If you're not going to reach people far from God, it costs money because someone has to pay for the lights, someone has to pay for the air conditioning. And so we do teach tithing and offerings at Life Church. Tithing and offering. Different churches have different philosophies. I'm just going to be arrogant enough to say we just teach the Bible. And so to make it easy, because people freak out, they've never been taught this. The super majority of your church, over 75% of your church is in over their head in credit card debt. Throughout the year, we offer financial peace classes. We love Dave Ramsey. Throughout the year, we'll do money messages, but we're not trying to get them to give. We're trying to help them get a written budget. If you go to our website, lifechurchmichigan.com, we even have a free Bible study called New You. 9 days that take you from not understanding anything about tithes and offerings to having a written plan, getting out of debt, learning about 10-10-80. Give 10%, save 10%, live on 80%. And then it onboards them to financial peace classes. We always want to make easy on-ramps. So that's our Sunday experience. In Acts chapter 5, it says that the early Christ followers just did two things. They met on Sundays in big group because Solomon's portico was empty. The Sabbath was Saturday, so the Christians worshiped on Sunday, the day Jesus rose. That's the front door for people to invite friends and guests. In the book of Acts, conversions happen in crowds. So we spend a lot of our resources on the weekend worship experience, unapologetically. And then in Acts 5, it says they also met in small groups, house to house. So we grow in width on Sundays, we grow in depth on weeknights through life groups. And that's what we want to push people towards in their next step, is to get into a small group of 12 people meeting in a home for a semester, 9 weeks. So there's an easy on-ramp. And there's an escape clause at the end of 9 weeks. Because you don't know if there's going to be some crazy people. That gives you an in and out. They just do life together. That's all they do. They eat, they talk, they laugh. That's it. Nothing heavy. And our 3 drum beats at Life Church is Jesus first. That's the Sunday worship experience where we make Jesus the hero. The second is better together. Better together is groups. So if I can get somebody to try out a life group, that's a win. Or if I can get someone to try out a class, that's a win. Sometimes people will register for a class thinking that groups are about talking about your feelings. They're not. But they'll do a class because they're like, oh, there's something to do. So we're better together if I can get them in a small group, because within 6 months, a first-time guest in 6 months has to have 5 to 7 friendships in your church or they will leave. All right, so it's the fireworks that bring them in, but it's relationships and doing life together, 5 to 7 friendships. So that's going to happen in groups. And then the third and final drumbeat is all in. We want our people to go all in with Jesus. That's serving, that's giving, and we make it easy by offering our growth track online. We've Netflixed our discipleship process. So anybody, anytime, can go to lifechurchmichigan.com. Click growth track, and there's 2-minute video nuggets where we walk people through what does it look like to follow Jesus. We talk about baptism. You can see our baptism tank out front with all the names. Those are all people who've been baptized here at Life Church. It's cool that all their names are right there, part of a bigger story. Then we talk about the story of Life Church, our vision, and then we share about how you can be part of this vision by serving, and here's all the different areas and how easy this is. And then about giving, and we know that's scary, so let's take baby steps together and go all in. If we can make Jesus first, answer the question of identity and loneliness by saying we're better together, and then challenge people to go all in, that's a wholly devoted follower of Christ. This creates raving fans. And if your people are proud of their church, if they've got skin in the game through serving and giving, if they're excited about Sundays, they are naturally going to invite their friends, their coworkers on Facebook. And Facebook has been the biggest tool for us. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and you cannot ignore raw enthusiasm from people who genuinely love their church. So that's the deal. That's kind of our modus operandi. A lot of how we make decisions is covered in the book Holy Shift. If you weren't here last night, grab one of our staff in between during the break, and we'll give you a free copy, because that talks all about principles of comedy that we use in our meetings, that we use in writing messages, that make things more missional. We think like missionaries as we engage with people. So I see that my time is up, so let me pray for you. I think Megan Cherry's going to pop up with some instructions during our break, and then we're going to do a live Q&A, which is either going to be completely awesome or a train wreck. Either way, get your Facebook Live ready. Let me pray for you. Father, thank you for these amazing men and women, some of whom have driven many miles across state lines to be here. I pray that you would bless their socks off this morning. And Holy Spirit, I pray sincerely that something today would give these leaders hope, Give them inspiration to be world shakers, world changers, fearless leaders that make a difference for time and eternity. Jesus, we love you. We pray this in your son's name. Amen.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed getting to learn a little bit more about our Sunday experience and what we do here. We have a special going on for you guys. So the Fearless tees that you're seeing Pastor John wearing, we've got a couple of volunteers wearing them. You can actually get them for $5. They're super soft. They come in a plethora of colors. You definitely want to go ahead and grab one of those. But for now, we're going to dismiss for a short break, and we'll come back with a live Q&A. Start thinking of your questions. We're going to put that number back up on the screen, and you can text in your questions anonymously.